Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's session around emotional eating and why it can be so hard for us to accept and love our bodies exactly the way they are. My name is Emmy from The Feminine Revered, and I've got with me today a wonderful guest, Lucy Still. She's a friend and a colleague, and she's an expert in recovery from emotional and comfort eating. Lucy also runs courses, trains practitioners, and speaks at conferences. And at the moment, she's also writing a book around mindset, changing mindset behavior around food, eating, and body image. So, welcome, Lucy. Lovely to have you here.
Lovely to be here. Thanks, Emmy.
Great. So, I'm going to just jump straight into it and fire the first question at you. And that would be, why is it so difficult for us to love and accept our bodies exactly the way they are?
Well, we're so it comes from a very early age, I think, as well. When we look at not having enough and always trying to attain something that we can't. So often the elitist, if you like, the elitist people have things and do things that are hard to obtain. Hence why they're a smaller group, and then they get accepted in that, and everybody else gets rejected. So we're almost conditioned, to be this, the survival of the fittest, which actually now has been debunked because it's about survival in the community. Yet the survival of the fittest is so deeply ingrained in society. And if we look at, so first of all, we're born, and then we often look to our parents and our mother figure, and we might hear her talk about diets. We might hear her saying, I haven't got a thing to wear. Oh, does my bum look big in this? Oh, I don't like the way I look. Or, even if it's not directed at us, we're hearing that. And then we become a teenager. And then it's all about attracting a mate. And we start looking down at our bodies, and they don't look like other people that we're meant to be look like, as in media hype or the ideal sexy girl. And whether we see that from the media or not, we're getting that from our peers all the time. We're getting that from music. We're getting that from the adults around us who may make comments. So we then start to look at ourselves as teenagers, and we're not looking like the ideal shape. And there's nobody, we're kind of left there to sort of stumble across puberty and boys. There's no guidance except what we're fed. And if we're fed things that are, well, you're not going to be very attractive, so no one's going to want you, we say not only if we then come from maybe a parent's, not their fault, but, maybe they were complaining about their bodies, particularly the women. And then we hit puberty, and we start getting a bit self-conscious about the way that we're developing that doesn't quite fit what other people are saying or doing or that we're seeing. And so then often the girls nowadays start talking about food quite young. And one of the things that has become really prevalent is that, fat has become a swear word. Yeah. So, even if there isn't fat, there's a perception of fear of that, and this fat phobia begins. And, and then that just goes all the way through. But also everything is set up. So, you're at school and you might do a picture and your teacher praises somebody else. So theirs looks better, theirs is more colourful, theirs is more beautiful. What about mine? What about me? I'm not beautiful, therefore, these children make up those ideas. Now we could even go back further to the Bible. And Jesus and angels are perceived as being pure and beautiful. So we are just, all the kind of icons, everything is all about this, the unobtainable and the beauty in that. And then we might look at ourselves, and we are, we're not taught about coming inwards. We're not taught about the way that we are. The way, you know, who we are is the strong bit of us. It's all about the way we look. And of course, now I'm a bit older, but young girls now have also got Instagram. And not that, where it doesn't matter who you are, it's what you look like, how many friends you've got, what you're wearing, what you're doing. And so it's just, you know, pushes us further and further away from our uniqueness of being different. You know, it's almost like we don't feel like we should, because the should is not acceptable, or we're not acceptable because we don't fit into that ideal. So yeah, we have a lot of rivers to wade through to actually make inspiration that is so drummed into us. Yeah, so things are changing though. I mean, whilst there is that pushed more for this ideal, there's also a wave of women who are coming up and saying, actually, you know, we are worth more than that. You know, and yes, we are okay with accepting our body at any size and shape, but we are more than our kind of 2D shape, if you like. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. You touched on so many different points there around why it is.
Yes, so we have to be strong to come through that, you know, and maybe that we have to get past those layers. Maybe it's not till we get older, actually, that we say, you know, that's really superficial. And actually, when I start shining from my heart and being happy for who I am right in this minute, to be imperfectly perfect, if you like, that we can begin to then really accept who we are, you know, despite, or not despite, but, you know, that we don't look at ourselves from in other people's eyes, that we look and shine from ourselves outward.
Absolutely, yeah. And as you said, especially when you're a teenager or you're hitting puberty, it can be so difficult to do that. When we live in a society that has a very narrow-minded notion of what beauty and attractiveness are all about, which is then bombarded towards us through the media, especially social media, but also magazines, the TV, and so on. And those of you who've been watching my Facebook Lives, and I've spoken about the body wound and how I personally, for example, developed symptoms of anorexia around the age of 12, because I wanted to look like a certain body type. And there's no way I would ever look like that. It's just physically impossible for me to look that way. But that's what I was aspiring towards. And I was putting my body through horrendous exercise regimes, really, in hindsight, torturing my body on many levels. And then also, obviously, starting to starve myself at some point, eating maybe 5 or 6 apples a day. And that was my diet, basically. And I think at that age, because your body changes so quickly, if you don't eat properly, even just for 2 or 3 days, you immediately notice the changes. It's like, wow, I lost all that weight. And then you're going to go into this spiral. You just get excited about the weight you've lost, and you stop eating more and more often. And at one point, you might find yourself in hospital. Luckily, in my case, it never got that serious. And I was also very sporty and athletic, so nobody actually really realized that I wasn't eating, which I think on many levels also hurt me even more than if people had realized that I had stopped eating. And I was really suffering on many levels. But also in relation to that, once I started eating again, I've noticed that I very much went into the cycle of emotional eating. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about the concept of emotional eating and why people like me would start to engage in that kind of behavior as well.
So take yourself back to that 12-year-old that, I don't know if you noticed that people would say, wow, you look so good, or, oh, look at you, you've lost weight and you look so amazing. And, you know, and then there's a sort of false sense of ego in a way, being flattered so it's again glorifying this being slim. Yeah. So then when you stop that and you start to eat, yeah. It becomes, that you lose that high of adoration, if you like, and then it's just there is so much joy in eating. I mean, eating is fun, eating is nice, and
should be fun.
Yeah, it should be. And so you're also associating when you've gone on that extreme diet or any diet, you become traumatized.
Yes.
Because it's painful. It's really painful, and you said yourself you were suffering inside. Yeah. So the subconscious does not want to go back to that, and it tries really hard to stop you. It only seeks pleasure, so it will do its darndest to stop you being unhappy, and it will go back and it will remember. Yeah, but when you were happy because you were at a birthday party and you were given a nice bit of cake, or you went to grandma's and she made that special dinner for you and gave you that chocolate for Christmas. Do you remember how happy you were then? Let's go back there, because then you're going to be good again, and I'm going to give you that pleasure. The subconscious is happy. It's done its job. You're feeling good. It's for the moment you're getting your serotonin buzz. But of course, the symptom of that is then fat, right? Mm. And so the food is really, there's nothing wrong in eating. It's just that we get into that cycle of feeling pain and eating because of it, even if we're not conscious of that pain. Using food to de-stress, using food because we're anxious, using food for everything, so it just gets blurred. And why not? Because food is really soporific. It is relaxing. It is a community thing. It is fun, and it is full of enjoyment. And I'm sure we'd be a lot happier. But the trouble is that much of the food around us now is so pumped. It's just not so nutritious. So we need more of it, and it just gives us a different sort of buzz. Mm. So that is very complex, as we all know. And the work that I do mainly with people, they'll come to me and they might want to lose weight, and I say, well, let's put that on the back burner, because this isn't really about that. This is about the food being a metaphor for something else. And it will often go back to comments people made, or maybe some feeling of not being good enough, or neglect, even if it's perceived, or abuse, not even if it's very small traumas. This can have a knock-on effect of self-esteem. And when self-esteem is low, the hormones go down, and then the whole thing of wanting that food to pump up and feel better. And food does make you feel better. It does work. It absolutely works. But unfortunately, the side effect is putting weight on. And then we get the externals of unacceptance that fat is not good. So the way really is just to be, I'm taking responsibility for my emotions. And if I eat for my emotions, I take responsibility for that too, because I am who I am. And we can't change who we are not. And it's no good beating ourselves up, because, tomorrow we might be a different shape, and next year and next 5 years. So so emotional eating can be helped so much with understanding, first of all, the why we're doing that. That's not enough. We need to work out our daily triggers, and we need to come from a sense of kindness and honor for ourselves. People say to me, well, pardon?
Which can be very, very difficult to approach yourself with that kindness and that sense of honor.
Absolutely. And I know people used to say, well, you just got to love yourself. And it was just so far away from where I was, in a place of hatred. And I know many, many women wake up in the morning and say, I'm fat, I'm ugly, and I hate myself. Someone might upset them in the day, or they might feel overwhelmed, and immediately because I hate my body, I hate myself, it's me, I hate me. And it doesn't change. Some people, so I've had women say, well, if I like myself, I'm not going to be motivated. I'll just let it all go. So I say, well, how's that been going for you? And it never works. Whereas if we say, well, okay, it's all right, body, it's all right, me, just going to pick myself up again, and I'm going to find these strategies to help me get through my day. And in doing so, there's more motivation, because you're doing it from a place of the heart. It's like teaching a child to go on a tricycle and, you know, up a hill. And if you criticize them and tell them you're useless, you're stupid, you're just an idiot, they're going to give up. So it's the same with us. You know, we need to support ourselves to say, actually, I know I'm stressed and I can eat if I want, or I can choose to look at my stress in a different way. I can choose what we call radical self-care. It's radical because so often when women use food is that they're just so busy looking after everybody else, there is no time for themselves. And actually overeating is a form of self-care when it's used in place of love, if you like, or relaxation. Yeah. So it's very, very big area, but there are ways through it, you know. And I know there's a big work towards intuitive eating and mindful eating. For me, it misses out the emotional support. You know, sometimes the reasons why you might overeat, if there's been abuse or if there's been neglect or abandonment in a child's life, which can then cause overeating. So I would urge people to look into intuitive eating and mindful eating and those practices, but also can support themselves with the emotions that they may be using food to fill the hole, to help make them feel better as well.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, I could talk to you about this for hours.
Oh man, no, I get on my soapbox.
There's such a wealth of wisdom around this topic, and obviously also stemming from your own experiences. You also mentioned to me that you're launching a really exciting program in about a week's time, isn't it? Do you want to talk about it?
I started already. Yeah, I started on Monday, and we've got a really nice intimate group, and we're working on neutralizing food. We're working on what the attachment that we have to food. So there's so much emotion in the food. If I say to people, there's a plate of your nicest food that you can imagine, and push it away from you and not have it. And people get very, very emotional. But it's just food. You know, it really is. Just like pushing a piece of paper away. It's just food. But so it's just kind of really understanding that it's okay to take away fear around food. And we look at waste as well, because a lot of women won't waste food. They'll eat it because they've been taught, you know, keep eating it, clean your plate, don't waste food, can't throw anything away. And as an adult, they still follow those home rules. We look at, yeah, a lot of people have that one. And actually, it's just almost like they've got the parents in their head telling them what they should and shouldn't do.
Right.
We look at just habits as well. Sometimes we can get into the habit of just shoveling food and not really engaging with it. So we want to become really aligned and balanced with the food and give the food the honor as well, and learn to build a trust in ourselves that we are going to feed ourselves. You know, which actually diets have so much, you know, to pay for really, because they teach us that we're not good enough. You know, otherwise we wouldn't need to go on a diet, and we're not freaks, and you know, we you know, we are okay as we are. In fact, they have a lot to answer for, diets. They can cause a lot of trauma, and people don't realize that. And they get twisted up in having to, well, I've got no choice. I have to go on a diet because I've got to lose weight, you know, because then I'm going to be more acceptable, because that's what we have to do. And then I can't keep on the diet, but then I have no choice. And, you know, I don't want to change the way I eat, but I want to lose weight, or, you know, and I don't want to face the pain. And it gets very wrapped up in a lot of suffering for a lot. So starting that course, that's 6 weeks, and then I'll be doing some more exciting programs after that. And I work one-to-one with people as well as doing talks. So big action-packed year for me ahead, because of writing a book is a new undertaking, and takes a lot of time as well.
How exciting. So if people who watch this chat of ours and want to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
I have a Facebook page called Mindset Eating, and they can go onto that. At the moment, I'm just restructuring my website, so that's not quite ready at the moment. So yeah, go on to Mindset Eating, like that page. I put lots of info up there and articles and different thoughts on Instagram as well, and Mindset Eating, or just come and check me out at Lucy Still. So yeah.
Excellent.
Lots of ways, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this chat. I've learned enormously just from this short chat that we've had. Appreciate your time, and wish you all the best with all the exciting stuff happening for you this year.
Thank you so much. Yeah. But yeah, see what I'm like. You get me on my soapbox. I'm off, because I'm so passionate about this work. So it's been really lovely talking to you today, Amy. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for watching. Bye-bye for now.
Bye now.